Good evening and welcome to our regularly scheduled Select Board meeting of Monday, June 3rd, 2024. Being the time of 7 o'clock, we will call this meeting to order. We could all rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This past weekend, we just recently had our town elections, and I would like to congratulate Jim O'Neill and Glenn Maffey for being reelected to the Select Board. At this time, generally after our elections, we have our reorganization meeting. I've greatly enjoyed my last year as chair, but as is, we usually each year kind of change those positions around. So, does anyone of the board have anyone or comments concerning this?
I'd make a motion. I'd make a motion to nominate Jim O'Neill as Select Board Chair.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We have a vote, 5-0-0. Congratulations, Jim.
Thank you.
Back to the chair.
Thank you very much, Ally. And thank you for a great job of chairing for the past year, and also to Mark and Ben for their great work. So I guess I'll take it from here. Okay. So the next thing we've got to do is vice chair. So I'll entertain nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Glenn Maffey.
Second.
Any other nominations? Being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
5-0-0. Congratulations, Glenn. And we also need to have name a clerk, so I'll ask for nominations for clerk.
I make a motion to nominate Mark Galvin.
I'll second. Any other nominations? Being none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
5-0. Okay, so we've now got our board reorganized, and again, Ally, thank you for the great work this past year. Appreciate it.
It was fun.
Okay, so our first order of business is with our Community Economic Development Director, Pat DeShane. Pat, if you could come on up. You've got a couple of items that you want to talk to us about. One is the Zoning Bylaw Review Steering Committee.
Yes.
And so why don't we start with that? And if you just fill us in on, what it is you're asking us to do and why, and we'll take it from there.
Yep. So early in the year, I think I might have mentioned to the board, we're started the process of working on a zoning recodification. Worked with town council as our consultant, or as our legal consultant rather, to begin the process. As part of that, there needs to be some sort of local guidance when we work through town council to bring forward recommendations for changes. And so a steering committee was the best approach. This committee would really meet periodically when there's work available for them to review. The formation of which I was thinking of would include 2 planning board members, which have already been appointed by the planning board, myself and the building commissioner, Jim Crowley, as ex officio members, and then really 3 at-large members to make a 7-member steering committee. Right now in the process, town council has begun working on an audit, so that includes just a thorough review, looking at our zoning for inconsistencies, outdated language, and information such as that. So we're really just kind of getting going with it, so I would imagine that whole process of the steering committee would really only be needed as long as this process takes, which would probably be about a year.
Okay. And you're expecting that you'd want to have the steering committee in place by, I think you said sometime this month, because you'd be expecting by early summer.
Yeah,
you'd have a need for.
Yeah, we've been kind of on hold. KP Law, being a large town council for many communities, has been stuck with town meeting for May, so we've kind of put the project on hold to get through May and early June. So ideally, I'd like to have a steering committee established by either late June at the earliest, or even mid-July.
Good. Okay. And so the planning board has already nominated 2 names.
Correct.
Those are Phil Chegarowski and John O'Leary?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And then you're looking for yourself and Jim Crowley to be appointed ex officio, and then I assume we would publish a request for people to volunteer to be the at-large members of the steering group.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. All right, good. Any questions from the board for Patrick? Yeah, Ben.
Is this an opportunity to discuss and or weigh making changes that were recommended in the master plan? Or is this simply like a kind of a inconsistent and outdated language edit?
So that's a good question. No, so we are looking at it more or less as a kind of a phase process. That's
Okay.
the agreement or the discussion with town council and how we want to go about doing it.
Okay.
First phase really begins with that audit and looking at that, not as exciting, changes with inconsistency, removing outdated language of the like. And then what we would hopefully begin to do, ideally by, winter or the fall, is start to look into subject matter section by section. The primary goal really is recodification and revision, and so that information is paramount first of all. But we do want to take a look at section by section as well, and just look to make sure it's consistent with state law as well. So.
Okay, yeah, I just want to, be as clear as we can at the outset, right? And I
Yep.
don't want people coming back later and being like, oh, they're trying to sneak in changes, or that,
Yeah.
Everything is on the table at this point, that we are going to focus on recodification, but that, we're going to look at each section as we go and see what subject matter changes are relevant and could be a good idea.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
I think everything that goes through the steering committee is going to have that local guidance. Eventually,
Right.
we'll have to go to the
Right.
select board and planning board as well. So.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks, Ben. Any other questions or comments?
No, I think it's a good idea. I think it's time. So I think it'll be an interesting process.
Okay. So one last thing for me, and I know you're just getting it up and going, and we can talk about this going forward, but I do want to make sure that the select board is very directly engaged in the work of this group. And so what I'd ask is periodically, and you guys can figure out what periodically means, but someone, perhaps the whole steering group, would come to us and give us a sense of, okay, here are the things that we're dealing with, here's the progress we've made, here are the recommendations that we're going to bring forth, and of course, if there's any help that you need from us, that you'd let us know. But I think it's going to be important to stay close. I want to make sure that, these types of processes can go on and on and on and on and on. You're talking about a year-long process, and
Yeah.
what I don't want to have is the thing sliding sideways and us not being directly involved with it.
Absolutely, and the year timeframe really comes from the money that we received to conduct this study.
Gotcha.
It's grant funded, so we have really this fiscal year to work through that grant funding.
Perfect. Okay, good.
Yep.
All right, anything else for Patrick on this item?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Mark.
I'll make a motion to form the zoning bylaw review steering committee for the purpose of reviewing and revising the town of Walpole zoning bylaws, with a committee of 7 members to include 2 members of the planning board, 3 members at large, and Patrick Duchesne and James Crowley as ex officio members.
A second?
Motion and second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. 5-0. Okay, that's part 1. Part 2 is you've got a request for the use of the commons, so why don't you take us through that as well?
Main Street Live,
There you go.
2024. So same as the previous years, we're hoping to utilize. It's September 20th this year, same time, 5 to 11 p.m. I'm excited to get going with it. I think it's my 3rd year now of working on that. So, as I said, so use of the town common, 1-day liquor license, and entertainment.
So when I saw this on the agenda, one of the things that crossed my head was, we're in the 300th year.
Oh.
And I'm wondering if, as you're planning for this, you got plenty of time between now and September, if we think about it through the lens of the 300th, and, do a Main Street Live 300th kind of thing. I think that could be interesting. So if you guys would give that some thought, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, and absolutely. I think the EDC did discuss that at our last meeting, was trying to find a way to tie it together.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, any other questions for Patrick on this item? Okay, Mark?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to use town common, which includes the closure of Elm Street and a portion of West Street, and a 1-day entertainment permit on September 20th, 2024, as part of Main Street Live.
Second that?
Further discussion? Being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. 5-0. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick.
Patrick?
Okay, our next order of business is a discussion and potential vote on requested town road closure at 931 Main Street to complete night work. Jim, do you want to?
Sure. This is something that came up over the last few weeks. We had a department head meeting, basically a design review, met with the developers who were pursuing the work there at 931, and there's a need to close down Main Street right just after Conrad's and right before the intersection there at 27 in Maine. I think it's going to be for 3 nights. We've worked with the police department to come up with a plan that they're pleased with. Sewer and water and DPW have been involved in the planning and coordination of this too, along with Carl's office and engineering. So everybody's pretty much on board with this. It'll be a bit of an inconvenience, but we understand this work needs to get done, and it's a much shorter time period than we've dealt with the last few summers.
Okay.
So.
Just out of curiosity, in terms of where they're connecting the pipe in, how much disruption is there going to be in that intersection of Main and East?
I don't think there'll be really any there because it's a very small area. I mean, I'm talking probably 10 to less than 50 feet of impact right there. But there's going to be a need to close that area off because it's such a pivotal intersection in town. So,
Okay.
and I know the chief's here. He and Deputy Kilroy and his officers have reviewed the traffic management plan, and we're comfortable with it.
Okay, any other questions on this topic for Jim or for the chief?
Were you thinking about the culvert when you asked that question?
Well, I was really actually thinking about the intersection and how much we're going to rip up the intersection and thinking about how it's going to get resurfaced and.
Okay.
So actually, that came up during our discussion. So it was more or less, do we do just trench? And I had asked, at the end of all this, I want a continuous path, whether it be that, I don't want 2 speed bumps, as we called them in the meeting. We just want to have, fix it, and then whatever it is, 20 or 50 feet, just cover that once the work is completely done. It won't happen right away because they need to allow it time to compact and settle down. So.
Yeah, but the plan would be then to do some kind of curb to curb
Yeah.
thing in the intersection itself.
Yep.
Okay, that's good. All right, any other questions for Jim or for the chiefs? Okay, Mark?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to close a section of Main Street so work can be completed at 931 Main Street for approximately 4 nights, subject to the applicant obtaining a street opening permit with conditions from the engineering department.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500. Okay, moving on to new business. We have a motion, we'll have a vote to open the fall town meeting, 2024 town meeting warrant, which seems like we just got through the spring town meeting. Jim?
We did, but we've already started working on the warrant for the fall. I think we're up to 14 to 16 articles, somewhere in that range. I've already spoken to the new moderator about keeping some of the items in place that the former moderator had, the consent agenda, and combining some articles to try to streamline them, and he was all about that. So we're pretty much ready to go. Obviously, the warrant will be open till August at some point, but we have a good sense of how we're going to approach it. We do have at least 3 stabilization articles that will be on there. We'll have OPEB. We'll have the DPW contract for settlement, the standard capital budget articles, in-year budget transfer. So we'll be busy. We'll have the high school on there also, which will probably be the biggest item on there. So.
Okay, good. Any questions for Jim? Okay, Mark?
I'll make a motion to open the fall 2024 town meeting warrant.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. 500.
I'd also just say you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but you don't have to. I know you were here for the road opening, so just wanted to let you know. So. I know this is really exciting stuff, so.
Okay, so on to, still under new business, I'd like to ask our town clerk, Liz Gaffey, to come up and just give us an update on the election and the results and the process and what you guys had going on today and all that.
So good evening. Congratulations to the 2 of you for your awesome job there winning for your next 3-year term, which
It's a
is
nail
great.
biter.
So it was a nice day. It was a beautiful day for us to have it. And honestly, it takes a village. I'm very appreciative of the DPW for the setup, the police for being there, taking care of the polling locations for us, and also the currying of the ballots to and fro for my staff, my new assistant, Patty Shan, who's been awesome, helping me through it. She's here with me tonight. And as much as I'd love to thank you for the 8 to 5 was awesome, but Patty and I have not left today, lunch or dinner, to do the write-ins for this election. So finally, the official results are up on the town webpage so that people can see them. I also have them for yourselves in front of you. So it's turned out to be an 11% turnout, which we had 9 last year. So that worked out well. It's debatable how we got the 11%, but we'll just take what we got there, so which is nice. And mostly the incumbents won, and we have a few. We still have a tie for Precinct 6 one-year seat, which will determine by a caucus prior to the fall annual town meeting. So it just, from whatever the write-ins we got for that one seat. So I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
I would just say, again, a very well-run process. Liz, you and your team do a great job. I know this was an unusual one, but still, we got a higher turnout this year than last year. And of course, this write-in thing, but particularly the library trustee has, really, put a lot more burden on you than would be typical. So I really appreciate everything that you've done. And I think your team really ran a nice process, so well done.
Thank you. Yes, the volume of it we had was vote by mail,
Okay.
which is why I said, it wasn't really a turnout for in-person, but vote by mail was huge, which is nice. I never asked to opt out of that, so, and that's why. So it did turn out to be what it is for a pretty much uncontested ballot, so I'm glad that people did vote by mail.
Yeah, it was interesting that the vote by mail actually outnumbered the walk-in on the day of vote by, 1,200 to 800, something like
Right,
that? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so interesting. Okay. Any other questions or comments for Liz?
I was just wondering about the update for the vote by mail. So the turnaround for vote by mail was pretty significant of people sending it back in?
So we got 35% back,
Okay.
37, did I say maybe 37%? So it was good. We're happy with that because I didn't know what to expect for a turnout. So we sent out about 3,500 and we got almost 1,300 back.
So the only other question I have was the 8 to 5. That was new for us this year. We've done it a few times in the past. Do you feel like it was still too long of a time frame based on this new kind of model of vote by mail being a more popular choice?
Especially in a presidential year where the state sends out the vote by mail applications. Would I have gotten 3,500 applications to vote by mail if it wasn't a presidential year? No. I probably would have got at the most 200. So what I like about it is the data that we get, that we now know if you do spoon feed them, we do get them back. Not half, but it was better than what it was. And you also have to remember, it was a pretty uncontested ballot. Maybe if it was contested, I would have got quite a few more back, which is why I believe we did reduce the hours too. But for an uncontested one and vote by mail, yeah, you can shorten it because people are sending it back. And the mail seemed to work out pretty good with that. It's not like we got, it's not like we sent them and then we didn't have anybody saying, I didn't get my ballot or anything, so it's good. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but you can track your ballot on the website. Not our website, but the state, so they can tell where your ballot is. So they can see that too.
Yeah, that's great. Any other comments or questions for Liz? Next year will be on Tuesday,
It'll be a Tuesday.
so that'll be
Exactly,
interesting to see
so-
what that shift, how that
Yep,
translates as
right,
well.
exactly. We'll
Yeah.
see what the interest is on that. So that'll be, I think it'll be what they're used to, is the voting on a Tuesday.
Okay.
So I think that'll be a good move.
Okay, well, again, thank you, great job.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate all the hard work, and please pass that on from the board to everybody who volunteered on that day. It's a
Absolutely.
very important job you guys do, so really appreciate
It
it.
is. No, they did. They had a nice day. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Thanks, Liz.
Okay, on to the consent agenda. Mark?
I'll make a motion to I'll make a motion to approve the consent items as listed on the June 3rd agenda.
Second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500. Minutes of.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 28th, 2024 as presented.
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. 500. Jim?
So just a couple of quick updates. I know it's not on there, but I really have some good news I'd like to get out there to the community. We are now a AAA rated town, which is a really big deal. We've never been AAA rated in the history of the town of Walpole. It's that one step that we've been trying to get past for my entire tenure here in Walpole, and that's 20 years. And I'm really proud of the finance team and the board and Finance Committee, everybody who's been involved, not just this year, but over the years, building up and making sure we're where we need to get. So good job on that. And we're going to be on June 11th. We have a light agenda again. We're going to get updates from the chiefs, but we're also going to be awarding the bids for the 5.9 borrowing that we went out to borrow for last week. Those are set to come in at the end of this week. We have a short window of just a few hours to review them and award them, and the board will have to sign off on them next week. So great job all around. And then one last thing. Tomorrow night, Norfolk's going to have a community forum at 7 p.m. Since we are off, I'm likely going to attend that, just and sit and watch in the background at KP basically it's a migrants, that's what it says on their updates, migrants update. They're going to have someone from the governor's office. To date, I've received 0 contact from the governor's office. I've received a response to my first letter from our state delegation. I think the board might have just gotten something this evening that you forwarded to me, Jim. I didn't get that directly, but I don't know what's going on. I have no. It's really disappointing the way the governor's office is handling the communication. I've heard it from other town managers, but I'm seeing it firsthand now. It's disappointing.
Yeah, so I'm planning on being there with you tomorrow, and hopefully we'll hear not only what is happening in Norfolk, but also start to get at some of the questions that we've been asking about the impacts to Walpole based on what's happening in Norfolk, and then the bigger question about, you know, our own prison site and what the state has in mind for that. Heretofore, we've been told there is no plan, there is no plan, there is no plan, but given what happened in Norfolk and how, I think it's really important that we really push on those buttons hard right now and make sure we understand what's happening there. I'd also note that today there was a $6.2, I think, billion bond bill that got through the House for affordable housing. And so I'm interested in seeing how that plays into things like the prison site as well. So I have a lot of questions for our legislative delegation and reps from the governor's office, and hopefully we'll get to speak to some of them tomorrow night, recognizing, of course, that this is a Norfolk event. But hopefully you and I, Jim, will have a chance to talk to them.
I'm hoping to get some cards or at least contact information.
Something,
that
yeah,
night.
yeah. I have one other comment to make on the bond rating, but any other comments on the Norfolk point Jim just made?
I'm glad you're going.
So on the AAA bond rating, this is a really big deal. And Jim, you and your team deserve an amazing amount of credit for what you have accomplished over the last many years, you know, working with the bond rating agencies to update our policies, our procedures, our processes, and demonstrate our ability to actually execute on those things and sustain them. That has all come to fruition now with the AAA bond rating that we got on the, what was it,
5.9 borrowing, yeah.
9 million borrowing. We'll know more about what that all means financially when we get to the 11th, and we will make a much bigger deal of this on the 11th, but I didn't want to have your comment just go without another comment saying what an awesome job you guys have done and how important this is to the town. Again, we'll talk more about this on the 11th when we've got your finance team here and so forth.
Definitely.
But this is really, really a big deal. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, being none, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
500, we're now adjourned. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.